recording. All right. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look through material that I've collected, and I I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to try to just model or illustrate for you how my brain starts thinking in terms of things I read. Okay. Now, to for full disclosure for you, I've been collecting these for a while. In fact, this is the folder I carry around with me because the folders I don't carry around are a little too big. These are here. These are here on my table for other reasons. But these are all pages of newspapers and magazines, that I've torn out because because I think that would make a really good look how thick that is. I'd be like, oh, that's a good topic, or that's a good, eventually I hope to write a book or two on these things, but I don't know, that I have very it's kind of boring for me, but and also hard work. I tend to avoid hard work like the plague. So anyway, let me go through some of these. All right. And part of it is I am willing to buy some magazines. I'm willing to have some subscription to magazines. Um, I'm not telling you have to do this, but what I am saying is you got to be running across ideas somehow in your life, whether you're reading or watching or listening to stuff. It do you need to think about what you're doing when you're not working at school and when you're not just entertaining yourself, because we all need that, right? We just time to relax. But are you working in time in your days where you're actually reading content, that allows you to feel like you are still intellectually engaged with the world? And that's going to be very important for you when you get out of college. And maybe you get a job and it's okay, but it's not really helping you grow, or you feel a little wonky at it. And your mind needs to grow, and so you need to be willing to spend just a little bit of money. Okay, I think we all spend some money on our streaming stuff. Okay, so that's good. That's good. That's good. There are documentaries there, a lot of good films, good movies there, and all that sort of thing, right? Movies, I say watch them because they can give you ideas as to what to think about in terms of a possible research topic, or really a way to make a text, what to write about. But I also pay money for a magazine subscription and for newspaper subscriptions. Okay, but I get the academic rate, and you can too because you're students. But I have a Wall Street Journal subscription, I have a New York Times subscription, and I have a Washington Post subscription. So I try to get the news from a couple of angles. The Wall Street Journal is the only one that I get the actual paper. I also get it digital, but the other two I just have digital subscriptions to them. And then I have a print subscription to a magazine called The Week, and The Week is sort of a meta magazine in that it looks at all the news and all the other magazines, and it refers to stories from the Atlantic, from Wired, from all other magazines. It'll pull out snippets, and it's sort of like Google News, if you will, but it comes as a magazine, and it's really been a good creative thing. But I would really suggest to you, and it's too late maybe for this class, but just for your growth as a person, uh, dish out a little bit of money and get a subscription that comes in your mailbox, or whatever. Just you have to be putting yourself out there in the traffic ideas so that you can have raw material to be creative with. Well, anyway, let's get started. Let's get started. All right, so here's an article here. Okay, an English artist used his own kidney stones to create a miniature replica of Stonehenge. Get this, which is now part of an exhibition at Sotheby's. Simon Le Bourget hatched the idea while undergoing ultrasonic treatments. You come up with funny ideas to keep you positive, he said. He harvested the stones by urinating through a tea strainer. The resulting artwork, he said, is a stark reminder of the delicate nature of our normality, health, and mortality. So, that's make a miniature Stonehenge out of your kidney stones. Oh my goodness! And you're urinating these. that, that tells you these stones have to be kind of small, but see, here's the deeper question, right? Here's the deeper question. What is art, right? What is art? And this fellow has managed to, his kidney stones are part of an exhibition at Sotheby's, and there's a little picture there of, I'm tempted to hold it up to the camera, but you're not going to be able to see it, of the little Stonehenge, replica. So this is an old question, but for some of you that really like art, you're also philosophically minded. I want to ask you this question. What is art? How do we really what goes into developing something that the culture, the community is going to call art? Okay, so that would be my guiding question. All right, I'm not asking you, if you were really to take this up, to have the answer right now. I'm just saying that this is a very, very interesting question. And a lot of people are going to come up with superficial answers. Okay. But I think if you keep on thinking and tweaking and poking and prodding, you can see how some of these answers actually fall apart. And you can actually come up with a very interesting answer to this notion of what is art. So sometimes you go to an art museum and you look at, modern art, and what's the saying that so many people say, I can't believe that my 10-year-old can do that, and I always want to respond to them, well, just show me the museum that your 10-year-old has the art piece in, right? Because, isn't that really where I'm headed here? The notion is not who can put paint on canvas. That wasn't my question. My question is, what is art in this sense, in the community sense? And don't we need museums to define that for us? In other words, art may be that which gets on the museum wall, And so now the question reveals itself to be, how do you get on the museum wall? And how do people embrace this process? How do people try to circumvent it, like Banksy and his, nighttime graffiti, that somehow has become art? Maybe some of you know what I'm talking about. But this notion about the wall as the definer of art is supported by the monkey business that happened about a year ago, when someone taped a banana to inside the wall of some famous museum. I want to say them. I don't know. You'll have to look at this, but it was a hard to get into museum, right? I mean, as far as like hard to hang your stuff in there, right? And you know, he called it art, and the museum backed it up. And he was trying to sell the banana for some exorbitant amount, and someone came around later and ate the banana, peeled it off the wall and ate it. It turned out to be all part of the art happening, and now it's a story that people are sharing with each other in terms of art. And so this is becoming this topic. I think, okay, I haven't written the paper. I'm not going to write the paper, but I would like somebody to write this paper, because this is going to be, it has the potential to be very interesting. I frankly, I don't know if the origin of the American flag has the potential to be playful, teasing, um, a mirror to our society. Yes. So I just received. You can see this on the message, but someone, I'm not sure if it was Banksy. Was it Banksy? But he created a canvas in a frame. Beautiful. Actually, I thought it was a very beautiful painting just in its own right. And it went to, yes, the girl in the balloon. That's right. That's right. And it went to sale, and someone bought it for, again, I don't know the price, but you know, definitely more than $500. Anyway, as soon as something happened in the transfer of the canvas or whatnot, but as soon as it was actually sold, something was triggered in the frame, and the canvas itself, the painting started dropping through the frame. The bottom ledge of the frame was actually a disguised shredder, and it shredded half the canvas, and it stopped. And in doing that, it maybe doubled or tripled the price of this painting. You see what happened? Because since it stopped, it kept the whole thing integrated as a work of art. But what was revealed was now this thing has a very interesting backstory of protest, of a slap in the face, to us. Now, if see, what if we understand that modern art maybe went off the edge here with things like this, and is doing what artifacts from a very intellectualized civilization almost always do at the end of the road, and that's turn around and become ironic and uh, comedic in the sense of the Shakespearean fool who was allowed to say anything to the king, insulting, you know, um, degrading, right to the king's face. I mean, just read Macbeth. Just read King Lear. King Lear. Read King Lear. Um, King Lear would be the perfect example for the Shakespearean fool. All right, and isn't this our Shakespearean fool? Where we know we're silly. Um, and so how else do you? Well, I'm sure you can maybe find some other explanations, but I'm thinking that it's going down that road. Where um, we are now at the point where we're mocking ourselves, right? Because we know we are in an age of vast, um, exaggerated spending, if you will, exaggerated wealth. When some of us, I'm talking about members of the community, can spend money for a painting of a girl in a balloon. No, and then the artist, knowing this, is going to shred half of it, and then we are actually thanking him at the end because then we have an even more valuable piece. This is a very interesting question to pursue, right? So I would say go for it. I don't know how you could miss the boat here, in terms of writing an interesting paper that's going to create interest, maintain it, and reward it. Remember, those are the three things. And you can start off with one of these questions, but think already about some of the stuff I'm bringing in here. Look, just in this 10-minute discussion of this art thing, I've mentioned the Shakespearean fool. I'm going to mention something right now. The Menu. Have you seen the movie The Menu, or The Triangle of Sadness? Okay, so those two movies right there are doing what the Banana on the Wall is doing. That's what I'm. If you've seen The Menu, um, there's a point now where people, the message of that movie is enough with this height, intellectualism. You know, we need to get back to that cheeseburger. And for those of you that haven't watched The Menu, none of this makes sense, right? But you should watch it. Okay. What would I be doing my research logs on if I'm doing this? I'm all right away, right? I'm spending time online to try to find the name of that painter who shredded half of it, to try to find the whole story about that banana thing. And I'll be typing, what is art? What's a good definition of art? And I'll be seeing what people are trying to say, right? And I'd be trying to watch The Menu because you would hear me say this. You know what I'm saying? I'm referring this to you. Um, and would I count that in my research log? Yeah, I would. When I get to do those logs, I would. So if you get started on something, I know we're not doing the logs yet, but mark down your time somewhere, because soon you're going to have to log your time. Take a look at lessons 4 or 5. Okay, so let's go on to another one. All right. Oh man, believe it or not, okay, one of my favorite people, because he is so bizarre. um, okay, here we go. Ready? Stephen A. Smith. Those of you that like sports, you know who Stephen A. Smith is, man. I think he's an ESPN analyst, but you can find him all over the place. Just go to NFL.com or something, and just you should watch some of his little hot takes. He hates the Dallas Cowboys, but okay, if you watch him though, you realize that he's he's radically over the top with his pseudo hate. So, go and check out some YouTube clips. Just put Stephen A. Smith trolls the Cowboys, and just watch what this guy does with his cigars and his hats, and Dallas Cowboy fans, they love to hate him, but the fact of the matter is they love him. They love to hate him, and we love to watch him. And it's a weird niche, isn't it? here's a person that's actually made a name for himself by being a lovable hater, if you can actually say that, in this day and age. It's an oxymoron for sure, but let me read a little bit here. Okay, here he is right here. So I can't resist the temptation wherever I'm doing this, trying to shove it up in the camera. There. All right, here we go. How Smith mastered the hot take. Stephen A. Smith offers his animated opinions, animated for sure, on more than 3,300 sports controversies every year on ESPN. That's like 10 a day. You know what I'm saying? Said David Marchese in the New York Times Magazine. The host of First Take, that's his show, one of his shows, has mastered the art of turning even the most mundane sports story into a high-stakes argument, vacillating from sotto voce, or like a low voice, to shouting, preposterous, and other multisyllabic exclamations. Smith, 55, insists he never takes a side just to be provocative, but instead he truly argues from conviction. I don't view myself as someone who's ever lost a debate, he says. Either I'm right, which I usually believe I am, or my counterpart says something that makes me more knowledgeable. In other words, he agrees with his counterpart and says, which means I never lose because he grew in knowledge. A fan of soap operas, he does admit to being deliberately theatrical. When you see facial expressions that I'm making when someone else is talking, yeah, you should see him when his quote unquote opponent is talking, right? When you see the facial expressions that I'm making, Smith, I know the camera's on me and I'm having a good time. He loves the job, but admits that needing to find a contentious point of view every day could put a strain on your soul. Quote, at times, you don't feel like doing that. So when people he meets wants to debate sports, he declines. Quote, I won't have time to live if I talk to everyone who wants to have a conversation with me. So, what I'm getting here is a person that's able to stand above his style, right? And to say, this is why I'm doing this. And this is nothing new. Many, many, many performers, entertainers sit back and analyze, what is connecting with the audience? What do they want to do? What works? What doesn't? What fits their looks in terms of what type of person people expect them to be? And they'll sort of gravitate towards that. But so I know that I can open up the discussion on this just by talking about this as a general principle, right? I mean, you could talk about Taylor Swift doing this, Lady Gaga doing this, Queen, Freddie Mercury from Queen. If you find that rare interview of him on YouTube, you're going to find that he talks about his theatrics, right? And if you watched videos of Queen and Freddie Mercury, you know what he could do. So Michael Jackson did this. I got a book downstairs called Michael Jackson Inc. that talks about this. So I know I can bring it in, right? I know that. But then I want to focus on somebody who is deliberately provocative, right? In a way that, because see, that can quickly backfire. You know what I'm saying? But you see this also in WWE, those of you that are wrestling fans, okay? Vince McMahon, right? He plays the heel. I mean, that's actually scripted, right? And of course it is, and then you get the heels and you get the good guys. I forget what the good guys are called, but McMahon for a while, I don't know if he's still running the wrestling industry basically, but he would just choose people to be the heel for a couple years, and then we would flip him to be the baby face for a couple years, and the face, the nice guy. And sometimes these people would do such a good job being a heel that they couldn't escape it, right? So what I'm actually interested in is what kind of person, what kind of skill is this, where you can get people to both love you and hate you at the same time, right? And what did Machiavelli say about this in The Prince, right? And what can I learn from that book called The Ringmaster, which is the book on the history of the worldwide of the wrestling, American wrestling with. Okay, so you see how I'm already pointing to different sources, and I'm like, because I know there's something here. I don't know what I'm going to write about if I write about this, but I know that this topic has a ton of potential. not just to help me turn in a school assignment, right? But to be actually to be interesting and to tell me something about human nature, you know, that I would be thankful to know, you know, appreciative as in terms of I'm smarter now about how people act, about what people can and can't do, and things like that. So, well, yeah, I'm going to find some more. I'm going to keep on going doing this for a little bit. But any thoughts or questions or comments? You know, I hope you understand what I'm trying to do. I'm just modeling ideas here. But anything that you want to quickly mention? All right. Well, let me read another one here, okay? Because I don't. Again, I'm getting caught up here. I got a whole ton here, so I got to stop pretty soon because um. Okay, here we go. A bully or just a tough boss? Okay, this is someone from London. Prominent Conservative lawmaker Donna McRae resigned as Britain's deputy prime minister, so he was number 2 in command. Deputy prime minister, other than the royalty, right? Which, whatever. After an investigation determined he had bullied underlings. The inquiry examined 8 formal complaints spanning 4 years and involving 24 people, alleging that Raab had abused staff members during his stint as Foreign Secretary and Brexit Secretary, and concluded that 2 complaints had merit. While Raab hadn't sworn or shouted, the report said, he had been persistently aggressive, intimidating subordinates by describing their work as utterly useless. Raab's resignation letter was unrepentant, saying his dismissal would set a dangerous precedent by setting the threshold for bullying so low. But when you get 24 accounts, now this is pulling from a government report, and rarely do the government reports really come at it from an uninterested angle, a disinterested angle. But this notion about bullying, okay, I know that I can find a lot on that in terms of people like this person. Jimmy Fallon just got pulled, his little moment in the hot spotlight. You know what I'm saying? Because his staffers accused him of being a bully. You can read about that. You know who was a huge bully? Steve Jobs. Okay, and if you read his biography by Walter Isaacson, I mean, your jaw drops in terms of how mean this person could be to people. You know who else was a bully? Kobe Bryant. You know who else? Michael Jordan. You read these biographies and you realize, and what do people say about Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and Steve Jobs, right? They say, well, look what they did. That's the type of person that's going to do this. So we have a love-hate relationship with the bully, don't we? The bully that produces, right? And also, they're not bullying children; they're bullying adults. And sometimes the idea is, well, if you can't handle it, go find another job. As if walking out of a job you finally landed, is the easiest thing in the world, and going finding another one is like, oh, a walk in the park. That itself is a bullying technique. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot here. There's a lot of things you can look at in terms of moving beyond the traditional. I don't want to say traditional, but the usual focus, which is going to be, the bullying that happens among kids at school. No. Let's look at sanctioned bullying, if you will. Let's look at the bullying that still goes on in the adult world. Let's see how it's hidden. Let's see how it's redesigned itself, but still there. Let's see how it gets forgiven in terms of, people later on saying, that was a horrible time in my life. I hated being around that person, but he took us to a championship, For example, Kobe Bryant. I mean, look what he did to his mom and his family, and okay. So I know that I can begin to extend this notion of bullying, right? But then what I really want to wonder about is how does it, the technique I'm doing here is extension, okay? Or we can call it scaling. So scaling you look at one small incident, but then you show how actually it scales outward, what it looks like when it's at a very high level, a very widespread level. Or when extension is when you're moving it from the usual, arena where, this is one kid bullying another during lunch about being short or whatever, to how it happens now in medicine, in hospitals. So if you give me the title up there on your research paper, the biggest bullies in town have the widest walls, I'm going to stop there and take a look at your paper. Because I want to know what you mean by that. How can hospitals be bullies? But then I'll point you to, this hospital system was just in the news. Man, it was a university hospital system too. But they just continually overcharge their patients, and so many of their employers were their patients, and now they're trying to sue these people. They're suing their own employers and the patients. Excuse me. The hospital system is suing the employees because the employees can't pay the hospital bill because it's so much. And who's going to win at court? Seriously, who's going to win at court? When you have a huge company like that suing an individual, they'll outspend you every time. They can take you into personal bankruptcy if you insist on fighting it within the first 1 year. And for them, it's just it's very little, right? But what I'm interested in is things like this. Have you ever tried to set up log on to an account, or it could be all sorts of things online, right? But the fine print you're supposed to read and agree to, right? How many of us actually open that thing up and read all those pages? But if you don't click agree, guess what? You don't get to make your account. All right. So and this happens in banking as well. So I open up my bank account, and so I could see the digital fly out of the bank account, but I open it up, and first there's this big pop-up on the screen that says we've renewed our policy concerning digital, I don't know what. Please review it. We've also renewed our policy for, and you're supposed to click on this thing. You're supposed to open up the PDFs and read this thing, right? And then you just click agree, right? If you don't click agree, you don't get to your money. Who's going to click no on that? So I feel like that's really the meat of your paper if you're going to write about bullying. Because remember, what I'm challenging you with is, how do you become original? How do you write something that is your own voice, your own idea, your own observation, whatever, right? Because if you write about bullying in terms of what happens among kids, and you type that in and you try to do research on that, you're going to get thousands of texts, documentaries, books, articles. That has been sort of written to death, if you will. And again, you can make your way through that and give me something, right? You could just kind of hodgepodge together something. But can you maybe take the concept of bullying and show me how it shows up in an area where there's very little analysis on that, right? We don't tend to think of it in that way or write about it in that way. Well, anyway, any thoughts or comments here? I guess I could do one more and then I'll quit. Well, maybe I'll do two more, okay? Really quickly. Here's one here, Jurassic Pork. That's the little funny thing here, but all right. So I don't know if you've heard of the company VOW, VOW, but it's a synthetic meat startup company. The lab grown meat. Okay. So it was a bad week for VOW, the lab-grown meat startup, when it unveiled a large meatball, quote unquote, grown from the DNA of long extinct woolly mammoths. So they you know what? This is actually happening. The carcasses of mammoths that were well preserved because of the Ice Age are being harvested, and someone even has a dream of recreating the mammoth. And if you want to read about this really quickly, it's a very fun book. It's called Woolly, Woolly, and then just type in mammoth DNA or whatever. But this group got a hold of some of that DNA and they made meatballs out of it. So they actually grew the meat, and they're these huge meatballs, mammoth meatballs. Okay, well, get this. No one has yet sampled the mammoth meat, said Val founder Tim Noakesmith. But that doesn't mean you can't. They can, right? You can go get this, but nobody wants it. That's just it. Now that's what I want to research. Is what things do we overstep that actually make sense technically, but they just make us want to throw up or something? Like, how many of you studying computers or whatnot have heard of the phrase the uncanny valley? The uncanny valley. Okay. So the uncanny valley is a chart. I wonder if didn't I talk about this with you all, or was it a different class? So I may as well put it up here. Now I'm getting really trapped. Hang on a second. All right. So here's your y-axis. You can see that there's a little lamp in the background there, and here's your x-axis. X, y. This is comfort level. Okay. No, I'm sorry. This is human appearance. And this is comfort level. Okay. And the idea is, as we study robotics and this field continues to push forward, which it is going to, we are designing robots that look like humans many times. There's a whole little business for that, right? And the more that, it starts off here very low, in human appearance. As you move to the right here, it gets more and more like a human, okay? And right here, the comfort increases as you go up. So if it's just a box, with a speaker, we're not comfortable or uncomfortable with it at all. We don't. It's just a box. We don't have a connection to it, a human connection, like an emotional. That's what I should really put here. Connection, right? But the more that, so yeah, actually, that's really important. I'm going to fix that. The more that you go to the right, the more that it begins to look like a human, the more our connection with it increases, right? Until a little spot right here, it looks very, very much like a human being. But it looks so much like it now, except that the skin is still really white, and everything is cold and the eyes aren't moving the right way, that it looks like a zombie or it looks like a corpse. And as soon as it hits that, the comfort level drops, okay? But if you can get past that, if you can just fix the color tone, if you can fix the way the eyes move, the way the mouth sounds, the mouth moves when it's how the voice sounds, you get back to the point where it really looks like a live human, because it took a long time for it to really look like a human being, but it still looked dead, right? As soon as it hit that point where it looked like a corpse, it drops in terms of our comfort. But then if we can keep pushing through it, it rises again. Because now it doesn't look like a dead body anymore. It looks like a real body. You know what I mean? We're connecting with it just like anybody else. So that right there is called the uncanny valley, okay? And I'm saying that's what happened with the mammoth meatball. It's like, that's a little too freaky. I wouldn't mind an incredible burger or an impossible burger. What do they call it? The plant-based burger from Burger King. I still have yet to try it, but I was joking around with my son, and I think I'm going to try it soon. But the mammoth meatball, okay. How else could I look at this, right? What happens when you mix things that we don't like mixed? When we think of a mammoth, what do we think of? We think of a ton of just, hair all over the place, right? I mean, this long hair, right? And then you want a meatball from this, and it's, I don't know. I don't know if I'm making sense there too, but somehow it's not working, right? Nobody wants the mammoth meatball. That's my point of research right there. That's going to enter me into this question, right? But I also know I feel like there's something similar with that and with what I'm going to share you right now. So Walmart has started a university, believe it or not. Okay. They call it Life University, and I think they offer degrees. I'm not sure. You better check me on that. But they have something called Life University. Okay. But who wants to get a degree from Walmart? You see what I'm saying? That's like that is a you're mixing together two things people don't want to mix. Like how about if Walmart under its own name, like the Walmart, actually made phones. You got the Amazon phone, you got the Apple phone, and then you got the Walmart phone. It says Walmart right there, right? Walmart has tried to do these things, but they found themselves locked into a cultural idea. And if they stepped over that idea, it didn't work. People didn't want that. So Starbucks discovered this as well. Starbucks tried to get into the movie industry, believe it or not. You know, you look at that. You look at what I'm saying, music and movies. But who wants to get a movie that's been designed by Starbucks? And then you might say to me, well, Dr. Horn, I mean, the people that Starbucks hires might be great writers. They might be great, you know, movie producers. And I would be, yeah, I understand that. But, when I think Starbucks, I think a nice hot cup of coffee. I don't think a great movie. I'm just, I don't want to, you're going to really have to like tie me to the chair if you're going to turn on a Starbucks movie for me. And I don't have any logic for that. I'm just telling you, yeah, I think that's dumb. And they actually quit when they realized that nobody was like buying it and downloading their movie lists or the music then they just quit. They went back to doing what they're doing. So I have material in my head that tells me, okay, I know the Starbucks story. The book is Onward by Howard Schultz, and then I know the one about mixing weird stuff. The book is called Meatball Sunday. It's by Seth Rogen, I think. I don't know, but I know the title is Meatball Sunday. How would you like to have a Sunday banana, uh, you know, um, you know, some vanilla ice cream, and then like a big meatball on top of it, with some red sauce on there. They just don't mix. You give me one, I like it when I'm in the mood for it. You give me the other one, I like that. But you put the two together, I want to throw up. So, this weird thing where you try to mix two things that don't work, and wham, you just have this huge failure in your hands. And haven't we read about that already? What do you do when you mix the homeless people with a vacation you're paying $10,000 for? For the tickets to the South by Southwest festival, for the flights, for the hotels, you know, for the restaurants, and you want to go out there and you want to listen to your music and spend your money, and maybe you have saved legitimately for this for a year or whatever, I don't know, but then all of a sudden, they're homeless people. Every 60 yards there's another one, or 60 feet there's another one, another one. They got nice t-shirts, but how do you, how wouldn't you feel guilty? Wouldn't you feel angry that someone invaded the space this way, the space that was supposed to be, you're paying for this? Separately, wouldn't you be able to express allegiance to both ideas, in the sense of, I really like good music, I like going to a really nice hotel, a clean hotel, right? I like a nice, beautiful, space to enjoy a festival. I like beautiful downtown cities. The structured, fashioned architecture. When you run into a downtown that's really trying to be a nice downtown, what a beautiful experience, right? And then what about the homeless? Well, I am very concerned about that. I know this is a crisis that's just growing, and how can we fix this? Because maybe one day I'll find myself there. That's not an impossibility. Um, how do I want to treat them so that maybe one day when I'm there, maybe someone can treat me with love? How do I respond to this? How do I show them respect? But then you put them together and it's like, well, I don't want, it just doesn't fit, right? It doesn't fit. And you feel that there's been an injustice. Okay, so that's why I'm saying, but you have trouble like, articulating the injustice, right? That's what I'm saying. That there's sort of an empty space here where the logic doesn't work, but we know what side we're coming down on, and that's what I want to write that's what I would write the research paper about when I looked into this meatball thing, right? But when I read it, and what I don't have notes, I'm not taught, I don't. The reason I'm able to express these possible connections, I'm not saying they are connections, right? Never once in this whole video or whatever, this whole time, am I saying for sure this is it, this is the language I'm using is like, I think there's something there. This is interesting. This is full of potential. I noticed this and this, and maybe this can work out. All right. So yeah, I'm not saying I see it all clearly, voila, there it is. But I got this really strong sense that if I look hard enough, I could write a text that creates interest, maintains it, and rewards it using this material. And I can do it because I got a lot of stuff already in me that will help me make the connections. But that's because I've been reading seriously with intention for about 30 years, right? Okay, that's cool. I'm a lot older than many of you, not all of you, but some of you for sure. What if you were to start now and you were to start reading and watching and thinking and growing in a strategic way, right? You will find, and it doesn't take a long time. You'll find within a year that you're able to think about things and draw connections, draw insight in interesting ways, right? And when you write interesting stuff for your college people, you get better grades. It's as simple as that. And so I want to encourage you to just, move forward with this and kind of understand what I'm asking you to do, and take a little, relax a little bit in terms of, maybe you don't know exactly what approach you're going to take in your topic yet or whatnot. Just keep looking, keep thinking, and jump on whatever thing comes your way that has a lot of potential to be interesting and original, in terms of the observation you finally come up with. All right. So I hope this kind of helps and gives you some notion, some idea. I feel like there was another one I wanted to look at, but I'm kind of out. Any questions or thoughts or comments on this? Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. It definitely is a lot to take in, but um, just keep at it. Okay. What I want to do now is I'm going to stop this recording, and we've got about 20 minutes left.